Comparing energy-assisted liposuction modalities. There's a lot of confusion about tightening and heat versus different energy-based modalities. We figured we try to look at this a little closer and try to clear the air a little bit so people can understand exactly what's going on with these modalities. Namely, laser-assisted liposuction and RF-assisted liposuction. The reason why it's important to delineate the issue about heat, whether heat's generated or how it affects the tissue, is because there is a lot of hearsay or arguments regarding the ability of these modalities to tighten skin. If all things are equal, and all heat is equal, and all energy is equal, we would have to examine the way it's delivered and the impact on the tissues, and that would differentiate the platform that's delivering that energy. Here you can see a Smartlipo fiber. We're going to be using Smartlipo in the left lower quadrant for this patient, and we're going to see what that looks like on the infrared camera. Here you see the Smartlipo fiber going through the umbilical incision. There's a little heat at the level where the incision is in the umbilicus, generated from the tip of the probe, but overall you'll see there's no change in the color of the tissues. It's not that Smartlipo fiber does not generate heat, it does, but in order to achieve a proper amount of heat that would actually make a difference, one has to spend a long time to heat up these tissues. And as you can see, it's a very, very weak modality, and this is proof of that case. So yes, I guess if you have the time to spend, great, but overall, it's definitely not practical. And as you can see here, even for a period of a minute or two, there's no impact whatsoever on the tissues. This is the in-mode radiofrequency device now. Has an external cutoff, an internal cutoff temperature. So we usually typically set this anywhere between 38 to 42 externally, because that's what's been proven to, a number that's been proven that you have to reach in order to tighten the dermis or the skin. Internally, it acts more of as a safety protocol. In other words, you want the heat internally. That way you get to your target goal, but the lower you set the internal temperature reading, the faster it shuts off. So it also works not only for safety, but it also shows us what's going on inside. What's important to point out here is radiofrequency does not work by heating the skin, but it works by heating the septal network. So here we have the BodyTite device. It is 2 electrodes, and what we're doing is we're setting the wheel because we're going to start deep, and the wheel's set in order for the 2 electrodes to be separated and to be able to accommodate enough tissue between the 2 electrodes. This sandwiching of tissues internally between the 2 electrodes and the one externally, one internally, will actually determine which depth we are and how much tissue is getting heated. As you move more superficially, you want to close the distance between the electrodes until you get to the level approximately a couple centimeters below the dermis. Care must be taken not to drag this device under the dermis or cause any damage to the subdermal nerve plexus, but it's kind of hard to do the way the device is set up. As you can see here, this is immediately within 2 to 3 minutes, and it's very, very strong. It's nothing close compared to the previous devices, but as you can see, the heat that's generated is immediate, fast, and it's uniform in nature, which is critical not only for a surgeon who wants to save time while you're here operating, but also because you want uniform heating of the tissue of the flap. Why do you want uniform heating? Because you also want uniform contraction. Why do you want a uniform contraction? Because when you have uniform contraction and tightening, then the flap looks good, your result looks good, does not show any issues, not only with contouring, but also with the way the skin lies over the area. So uniform heating, uniform contraction, and uniform results afterwards when followed by by suction. Smartlipo on the left, or laser-assisted liposuction on the left, radiofrequency-assisted liposuction on the right. We've used Smartlipo in the past. As you see here, it's significant difference between the two. There might be a little heat generated at the tip of the Smartlipo fiber, but it's not significant. And if you did want to dump a lot of heat into the tissues, you would spend an inordinate amount of time getting that heat in there through this fiber. Both of these videos and show not more than maximum maybe 5-minute treatment times. If you're a surgeon and you're waiting for that tumescent or the epinephrine solution within the tumescent that you've injected to work, 7 to 13 minutes or whatever your preference is, you could easily make the argument that if you wanted to add heat and cause tightening, the device on the right would be the one to pick, because you'd be probably more or less almost done by the time you actually start doing the actual liposuction procedure, as opposed to the device on the left, your laser lipo, you'd just be getting started.